Oh. All right. So thank you, Amritavani ji. Radhe Radhe. Good morning, good evening, everyone. A very warm welcome from my side for today's edition of Daily Wisdom from Bhagavad Gita. So let's get started. Today we will continue on our journey on Karam Yoga. Today we'll talk about a very interesting concept. Who's the doer? God is the doer, or are we the doer? Right? And we'll have a good discussion around this concept because this is again one of those concepts which can often confuse people. And I'm telling you, even after listening, you'll get confused. Okay. After that, after a month, if I ask you again, you'll think, okay, what did that mean? So let's continue. I'm going to share my screen. We will get started by invoking the blessings of God and Guru. Let me share my screen. Able to see it?
Yes.
So let's get started then. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Hey, Radhe Radhe, good morning, good evening, everyone. So let's continue. We'll do 4.19. This is talking about how do we do action which is free from reaction. And as part of this shloka, as we continue to progress on chapter 4, we again take a detour on the Karam Yoga aspect of it, because it is bringing about that concept of Karam Yoga actually, which we have spoken about, but we will do the recap as well. So I'm going to recite it and then we are welcome to follow along. Yasya sarve samarambha Kama sankalpa varjitaha Jnanagni dagdha karmanam Tamahu panditam buddha. Okay, let's take a few hands.
Please do turn on your cameras. Those who have turned on your cameras will be given the first preference. So we have Sandhya. Go ahead, Ma.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Yasya sarve samarambha Kama sankalpa varjitaha Jnanagni dagdha karmanam Tamahu panditam buddhaha.
Very nice. Sandhya. Okay, a few more hands.
Please go ahead, Madhuji.
Ji, thank you for turning on.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Yasya sarva samarambha Kam sankalpa varjitaha Jnanagni dagdha karmanam Tamahu panditam buddha.
Nice, thank you, Madhuji. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
5 hands.
Dineshji, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. Yasya sarve samarambha Kama sankalpa varjita Nanagni dagdha karmanam Tamahu panditam buddha.
Wonderful, very nice, Dineshji. Radhe Radhe.
Ragiji, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe.
Thank you, Radhe Radhe. Yasya sarve samarambha Kama sankalpa varjitaha Jnana agni dagdha karmanam Tamahu panditam buddha.
Very nice, thank you, Pragiji.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Manisha ji. Manish, yes, please go ahead.
Manisha ji.
Radhe Radhe. Yasya sarve samarambha
कामसङ्कल्पवर्जिता ज्ञानाग्निदग्धकर्माणं तमाहु पंडितं बुधा. Radhe
Right.
Radhe.
Okay, thank you, Manisha ji.
Samji, please go ahead.
Radhe
Radhe
Radhe Radhe.
Yasya sarve samarambha kama sankalpa varjita jnanagni karmanam tamahu panditam buddha. Radhe Radhe.
Please, Radhe Radhe. Okay.
Please
How many?
go ahead,
Okay,
Shyam. We have 4 more hands.
okay, let's cover all the 4 hands.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Yasya sarve samarambha kama sankalpa varjitaha jnana agni dagdha karmanam tamahu panditam buddha. Radhe Radhe.
Very nice, Shyamji. Radhe Radhe.
Rahul ji, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. Yasya sarve samarambha kama sankalpa varjita jnanagni karmanam tamahu panditam buddha. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Last 3 hands.
Please go ahead, Uday Kumar ji.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe. Yasya sarve samarambha kama sankalpa varjita jnana agnidagdha karmanam tam aho panditam buddha. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Very nice, Uday ji. Thank you. Falguni ji.
Falguni ji, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. Yasya sarve samarambha काम संकल्प वर्जितः ज्ञान अग्नि दगत कर्माणं तम अहु पंडितम बुधा. Radhe Radhe. Thank you.
Radhe ji. All right, Riya ji, please go ahead.
Thank you. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
यस्य सर्वे समारम्भा कामसङ्कल्पवर्जिताः ज्ञानाग्निदग्धकर्माणं तमाहु पंडितं बुधाः.
Wonderful.
Radhe
Very
Radhe.
Thank you, Radhe Radhe. So let's get started. The shloka, Lord Krishna is saying the enlightened sages call those persons wise whose every action is free from the desire for material pleasures and who have burnt the reactions of work in the fire of divine knowledge. All right, so we'll talk about it. So let's get started with our soul soup segment. What do we have on this one today? So today, what you're looking for is already inside you. Okay, this is a concept. It's a very important concept. The refrigerator is empty, but we know where it is. Now, let's look at this concept. This is something called musk deer, the deer with the kasturi. So, has anybody heard about this deer? What is the predicament of this deer? What's going on with this deer? What's going on with this deer is that one of the goals for this deer is to find the source of this fragrance. Nice. Deer it's the goal. Where is this fragrance coming from? The deer keeps on hunting for it, while it is actually within its own body. That is, ironically, it is existing within its own body and it keeps searching for it everywhere. Isn't it ironical? And that's essentially how our life is as well. We are searching for that perfect happiness, elusive happiness, and the very center or the fountain of happiness is actually within us only. Okay, it's within us only and we have no idea about it right now. So it's like that musk deer who's looking for this fragrance all around. Where is this beautiful fragrance coming for? It keeps searching for it throughout its life. It is not endowed with an intellect. Right? Animal species, plant species, they are not endowed with intellect. They are scripted. They go by their instinct. When they feel hungry, they will eat. All the basic activities. But then humans are endowed with intellect, and that is where we can get to the source of that fountain of happiness we are searching for around us, right? Which we are trying to fill through material objects, material relationship, material acquisitions, and stuff like that. So our predicament is a little bit like this deer and like this guy who's searching for something which he has already emptied. Now, this also reminds me of a character, if you have studied, I think I'm sure all of you have studied. During your kindergarten years, there was a character called Kuchu. Anybody remembers Kuchu? Nobody remembers Kuchu? Maybe we have studied long back. Okay, I have not studied too long back. That's why I remember. So there was a guy called Kuchu. He wakes up one morning and he's searching for, anybody remembers that? Nobody remembers? I don't know why. See, there are certain things you should remember, right? Like Kuchu, Chacha Chaudhary and all. It's good for your memory. So this guy, he wakes up one morning and he's searching for his glasses until he meets a little boy, and the little boy says, Mr. Kuchu, you are wearing it on your nose all along. So he's wearing the glasses and searching for it all around, right? Something similar to what's happening here, right? So Kuchu's story, when I read it for the first time in my first standard or something, I was like, how dumb this guy is. He's saying, where are my glasses? And he's wearing it all along. But the fact of the matter is the same thing is happening with us as well, right? We are walking Kuchus, searching for happiness, while the fountain of happiness is residing within us. Only thing we need to do is to tap into it, right? And spirituality is telling us how to tap into it. We have all the happiness or the fountain residing within us. When we tap into it, that's it, the job is done. And that is why we are sitting here to peel the layers so that our true nature shines forth and we can actually tap into that immense bliss that we are. Soul is there, right? But because of the layers of mind, intellect, we have forgotten our identity and went on to still searching for that, made it elusive. So let me tell you a story today, okay? Story or a joke, whatever you want to call it. So there was an old man and a young man, okay? So they were sitting in a restaurant and having drinks. Okay, so they said, bring us a couple of drinks. So waiter brings them a couple of drinks. And a guy is looking at them, who's from a distance, and they are looking very engaging and fascinating in the way they are going about that. So bring it on. And then after one drink down, the guy, the older man, asked the younger man, where are you from? He said, from Delhi. He said, really? Yeah, I'm also from Delhi. I thought you were a visitor. And after a while, he said, okay, by the way, which part of Delhi? So he said, Gurgaon. Oh my God, you're from Gurgaon, also from Gurgaon. And then he said, okay, the young one says, okay, by the way, which community are you part of? He said, DLF phase 2. Oh my God, I am also from DLF phase 2. And said, which block, which house? He said, oh my God, I am also from the same community. So the guy who's witnessing this spectacle, he asked the waiter, what a coincidence. These two guys started off and, they have emptied the bottle, drink after drink, and finally they are acquaintances. So the waiter said, this is not a coincidence. This is son and the father duo. They come here and do this drama every day. Okay. So something similar, not similar, but kind of, we have also forgotten our relationship with God because we are intoxicated with life and intoxicated with this 8.4 million journey that we are on, and we have forgotten that. So the day we become sober, that's when we will see things as they are, right? So we are just going to reestablish our relationship with our father, like that father-son duo, after we sober down. And spirituality is the process of sobering down, just knowing the things as they are. Okay. So let's continue this sobering down business. So Kuchu, I hope you will remember Kuchu from here on. Let's move on. Now, the actions that we are talking about that are motivated by the desire for sensual and mental enjoyment, they bind the soul in karmic reactions. We have beaten this concept to death. Hopefully by now you understand any action that you are doing for the sake of your senses or your mental enjoyment, they will bind you in karmic reactions. Okay. In contrast, when the soul is illumined with divine knowledge, it realizes the bliss it seeks. Now, this is our intellect. right? Intellect is the interface. Intellect mind is the interface that the soul has to deal with this world, or the way it looks at the world. Now let's see what happens. Now it can engage in two things. One is senses, sensual pleasures that it seeks, and second is God. Now, when you seek sensual pleasures alone, or sensory gratification, you are doing karma and vikarma. It's not a karma. We have spoken about that concept. It came in the quiz as well, and will be attained not from the. So basically, what will happen is the bliss that you are seeking, thinking that these senses are going to give you, that bliss will not be attained from the objects of the senses. Nobody has become happy by fulfilling the desires or going after the objects of senses. Nobody has. We have tons of stories, right? You've seen people, like Michael Jackson, Elvis Presley, anybody you think they were rock stars, they had the world on their, basically at their foot, with regards to fame, money, all the things that normal people crave for, and even after that they did not get that happiness. So nobody has become happy by attaining objects of the senses. On the other hand, when we engage in loving service to God, then, and we strive to perform every action for the pleasure of God, that is the formula for bliss. There's no other formula for bliss. Okay. Now, like that father-son duo who would drink their way to glory every day and re-establish their relationship, we are also on a journey to re-establish our relationship with God, long forgotten relationship that we have with God. So when we establish that, and when we start diverting our works for the pleasure of God, loving service of God, that's when we get closer and closer to bliss. Just by fulfilling our desire, nobody will become happy. It may give you a temporary feeling, but the dissatisfaction will again creep in. The discontentment will again creep in, because it doesn't have the ability to make you happy, right? And such an enlightened soul who renounces selfish actions for material pleasures and dedicates all actions to God, the works performed, they produce no karmic reaction, right? We have spoken about this concept. They are said to be burnt in the fire of divine knowledge. Why? You would only devote your actions to God. First, you believe in God. Secondly, you believe in the higher principle that the fruit of my actions are not for my enjoyment. If you have already contemplated on this concept, then you started burning your karmas, and that is called the divine knowledge. So that contemplation, acting upon that knowledge itself, is going to have that burning effect of all your karmic reactions. Now, this is what Lord Krishna in this shloka is calling the stage of Gyan Agni Dagdha Karmanam. In Gyan Agni, you're burning all those karmas. Now you're putting your karmas to fire. It is going to burn it off. Right? Like Arjun killed so many people, but in God's books, none of it was a murder. Hanumanji killed so many people, none of it was a murder. So your reaction of your work are no longer applicable to you. On the other side, it is purifying, uplifting, and taking you closer to the bliss, peace, joy, whatever you may want to call it, right? And no reaction whatsoever. Now, what happens? It means this knowledge is purified because of fire of true knowledge has kindled in his heart. And it leads to purification of desires. Karma Yoga is what? Purification of our desire, behind the motive why we are working. And this leads to this knowledge. When we act, there are no sins, no faults, no mistakes. And such an action is very powerful in this world. What does it give us? 4 potencies. When you perform Karma Yoga, start subscribing to this principle, you get these 4 potencies. What are these? You get Ichha Shakti, the power of desire, because your desires are becoming purified now. Okay. So the Ichha Shakti is something you develop at that point. It is very powerful. Now our mind is a factory, right? Generating 60,000 thoughts a day. And this factory is something which is churning out garbage with absolutely no quality control over it. Right? Just imagine a factory which produces goods and you have to deal with it every day. What will you do? Again, the same garbage is coming at my doorstep. But in the case of your mind, there's absolutely no quality control, right? In Japan, they have come up with this Kaizen, constant improvement, CMM level capability, maturity model the corporates follow, where you need to fine tune your process and, have some kind of a quality control over the stuff that you are producing. In companies everywhere, they do that. And the entire world is striving for perfection and quality control. Without quality, when we go to some place and let's say to a restaurant, they don't give you good food, you start complaining immediately, and there is no quality control whatsoever. In the airport, if they don't service you well, you start complaining there is no quality, no service, nothing. And in this case, we don't have quality control over our thoughts. Just imagine. So spirituality is actually the way to get that quality control over our thoughts. And we practice it, in fact, when we make it a fertile breeding ground for noble thoughts, that is through Ichha Shakti. You develop that power over your mind. How does that happen? When you start aligning to this principle, I'm doing it for God. Keep that consciousness or keep practicing it as best as you can. What next you get? Gyan Shakti, power of knowledge will come. Gyan is already, like I said, that soul soup for the day. What we are searching for is already inside it, like Musk, dear Musk. Similarly, the Gyan is also inside us. We are the fountain of the knowledge. So as you progress in bhakti, as you purify yourself, the Gyan will automatically manifest. You don't have to acquire it from books outside. It will become a realized knowledge. Layer by layer, you just have that. Or every knowledge will start manifesting from within. Okay, so that Gyan Shakti will come. Bal Shakti will come, where you have a lot of strength, Manobal, like physical, mental strength, both. Not like you will become Dara Singh, but you will be like mentally very strong. And Kriya Shakti, of course, the power to act, decision making, not doing dilly-dallying and wishy-washy with your resolves. All that stuff, all you tap into all four potencies. Now, if this is not a good business case to do Karam Yoga, then I don't know what else would be. Everybody strives for these things, right? We go to self-help books, we go to those trainings to improve ourselves, personal development courses, and so many things we undertake in our life. God has given us a principle. Just tap into one thing and everything will start falling into place. Okay, that is the beauty of subscribing to this principle. And this is the shloka that we have been talking about to go deeper into the Karam Yoga discussion. So we'll do hand in hand both. Okay. So let's continue where we had left off. We had spoken about these concepts, that there are two kinds of activities. One which is done with, yes, Preeti ji, you had a question?
Very good. Can you go back to the previous slide, Nitinji?
Yes, I can. This one?
No. The Kriya Shakti, the Bala Shakti Kriya. So, Nitinji, Kriya Shakti, power of act, it means not only one gets the understanding of what is the right act, and also also stop fearing from going ahead and doing that act. Is that what it is?
Basically, part of it, you do things with conviction, where you're not second guessing yourself around everything.
Okay. Radhe.
Because the intention is pure, then you're not. See, one of the problems everybody faces in this world is they're always second guessing them. Oh, am I right? Am I wrong? Should I do this?
Yes.
So that part, that gray will start coming out into black and white, right? Because now you're purifying yourself and tapping into your real potential, right? So that thing will also start coming in. That conviction will start coming in your acts as well. Yes, Madhuji, you wanted to ask something?
Please go in the last slide. Oh, previous slide. No, and based on this knowledge, the fourth stanza, when he acts, he commits no sins, no faults, and no mistakes. The meaning of this that we never hurt the heart of anybody, and we don't want to give any took to anybody, no faults. Or this meaning is in the normal works, in the normal acts, we do some mistakes, not something. When we do some kitchen work, namak jada ho gaya, like this. But here they are. He commits no sins, means no किसी को दुख नहीं देना, किसी को hurt नहीं करना.
In this case, you are basically burned your reaction. You are perfectly surrendered. In that state, you are not committing. Everything is perfect in itself. You never make mistakes, right? That people point out mistakes in Lord Ram, Mother Sita, okay, why did he do that to
No,
this?
no. That was a Leela.
So
That
that is
was a
Leela.
Leela.
What I'm saying is, when you reach that stage, you have also burnt your reaction. So you are actually at a saintly or a sage. You have become a sage at that moment, even though from a material perspective, something might look like a mistake, but you are not. It from God's eyes, nothing, you cannot do any mistake at that point because you have purified your intention and desire behind it, and you have become an instrument of God. So when you become an instrument of God, that concept that we are going to talk about, that who is the doer, then you can commit no mistake at that point. That is the whole idea.
Okay. Radhe Radhe.
No binding karma, nothing, no reaction to your karma whatsoever at that point. Okay. Now let's move on with our discussion today. It's a very important topic. I have not gotten started on it as yet, but let's get started. So we have spoken about two types of actions, intellect mind and intellect mind plus attachment, right? That is what we've been talking about. It's a quick recap. And then we spoke about the first principle where we should focus on the things that we can control, not on things which are outside our control. It's very important to have that wisdom in our day-to-day decisions making and our thought process on what am I worrying about? Is it something which is within my control, or is it something that which is beyond the circle of my control? And that will give us a good perspective on how to implement this principle. Okay, so Serenity Prayer spoke about it. We spoke about this concept. Yesterday, we spoke about why the fruits of our actions are not for our enjoyment. Purush, Param Purush is the ultimate enjoyer. Okay. When we do it as a service to him, like a hand-stomach relationship, we automatically get what we need. Right? You don't even have to ask for it. But when we hold it and think we are the enjoyer, that's when we not only not get closer to that ultimate bliss that we are looking for, but also we are incorrect binding karma. Let's move on to the next principle now. The next principle states, so we spoke about this concept already, that's even while working, give up the pride of doership. Now, God is saying that. Let me ask this question. Are we the doer or is God the doer? Anybody wants to take this question? God is saying, give up the pride of doership. That means he's saying, I am the doer. Yes, Sandhya?
Actually, I mean, God is the energizer. So without the energy, nothing can be done by any of us.
Yes. Now let's get into a little bit of philosophy. We'll come back to that. I think you've done this. So God is saying, give up the pride of doership, okay, which is basically signifying I'm the doer. Now, if God is a doer, then everything should be perfect in this world, right? Why the karam fall to us? Basically, it's like galti is done by Gappu and fal is bhoged by Pappu, right? It's not very fair, right? Gappu kare galti or Pappu bhoge fal. It's not fair at all. So that means if God is doing, then everything has to be perfect. And then he should take the karam fal as well. Why are we taking the karam fal? And if we are doing, then why is God give up the pride of doership? It's very paradoxical, isn't it? Why is God saying, give up the pride of doership? Okay, I'm taking the karam fal, so give me the sense of doer, then I am the doer in that case. Plus, we have a saying in Hindi, Bhagwan ki marzi ke bina patta bhi nahi hilta. And if it's marzi, if that is the case, then he's not doing a good job at desiring things because so many imperfection is there in the world. So that means what he's marzifying or whatever he's thinking is there is some messed up thought process going on here, right? So these are all paradoxical steps. We'll try to resolve that today once and for all, hopefully. So what this concept means is, let's understand this a little through analogies. There is something called kartritva abhiman, doership, that we get. Okay, kartritva abhiman is basically the ego of being the doer. I have done it. Now, he's instructing Arjun never to chase after preconceived motives attached to his actions, nor consider himself to be the cause of results of his actions. Okay, this is a statement he's making. Now, these thoughts are very nicely summarized in this Sanskrit verse, okay, which says, whatever I have achieved, whatever I wish to achieve, I am not the doer of these. O Madhusudan, you are the real doer and you alone are the enjoyer of their results, right? That villain in Axe movie, you said, na main karta hu, na, and he used to murder people around and say, okay, it's God is the doer. So how do you resolve all these concepts, right? So let's try to put it in perspective, this whole thing, and have a good discussion on this topic. Why are we not the doers? Okay, it's like a tong. We know how tong is a very important instrument in Indian kitchens, right? Especially in villages, you would have seen that, no longer in in cities, it's a very, very good instrument because you can maneuver coal just like that, right? And it's an instrument you can use to scare somebody as well if you need to, somebody at home. Okay, I don't know who typically that would be. So these tongs, they are not the doers. They are being maneuvered by the hand. So the energy behind the tong is that of a hand. Tong in itself cannot do anything, right? So there's an energy provider behind it. In that way, our body, mind, soul mechanism, the power to perform actions, they are inert in themselves. Inert means they are jad. Jad means lifeless, insentient. We could not have done. See, when somebody passes away, soul leaves. So body, mind is everything is still there. What leaves? The energy that was making them sentient has departed now. So now it become mud. It will putrefy and people will say, take away this body. Body is still there, but that is inert in itself. It's only because of the presence of the soul it became alive. And when we die, then the soul departs. Or when the soul departs, we die. Actually, I should say it that way. When the soul departs, we die. And soul departs, it's in 0-1. It's not like soul is departing. Oh, by the way, it stopped. No. Soul will either depart or stay. You may be in coma, you may be having an ND experience, or you may be, unconscious for a long time, but soul is still there. You may be your brain might be active, your heart might be active. That means soul is still there. It's only when the soul departs, then you are dead. Okay. Clinically, technically, medically, I think there are different definitions. Whether your heart stops, you term it as a dead, your brain stops. But when every part of your body stops, that's when the soul has departed. No part of your body can operate on its own without the presence of soul, because our body is inert. It's jad. Okay. And soul makes it sentient. Now, what makes soul sentient? That's the next question. Super soul. So God energizes our soul and soul energizes our body. So this is a very simple relationship. So that means God is the powerhouse. And that is why if without God's power, none of the action can be performed. And that is why in figuratively it is said that Bhagwan ki marzi ke bina patta. That means God is the ultimate source of every energy. It's like a powerhouse which is giving you energy. The interesting thing is God is not dictating how do you use my power. It's not like I will not give you power unless you put it to good use only. No, because God doesn't say that. He has given us a free will. But he says that free will is expensive. You have to pay price for it. Free will is not truly free. I'm telling you, it's very expensive. And what is the price we are paying? By doing binding karma. And what is the result of that? Rotating in 8.4 million. Okay, so that is how this whole process goes. So now God is the only source of power by which we perform our actions. We'll reconcile the other part as well. We'll cut to it. So please keep your thinking caps on, because it's a lot of deep philosophy we are going to talk about today. How do we perform actions? We have our mind, and through mind, which dictates our senses, your sense cannot approach anything until your mind has sanctioned it. Mind is the master of your senses. Okay, your hand cannot touch anything until your mind has said, go for it. So the mind tells senses and our karma indriyas, right? So hand, feet, speech, everything is directed, and that is directed by our gunas. Okay, this is how it works. Gunas is nothing but something of our own doing. It falls into three categories. Either we'll do pure gunas, noble deeds, or we will be in a mode of passion, just enjoy life, or we in the mode of ignorance, where intoxication, slothness, and other things. These are the three categories where our gunas fall. Based on the gunas, your mind will take decisions. If your mind has a tendency, if you have more of rajas guna, now guna is not God has whimsically given, you only have chosen that guna for yourself by your repeated choices in your past lives and in this life as well. That is where your mind will take you. Okay, the moment what do you call a drunkard looks at a wine shop, he starts swinging side by side. He cannot resist that temptation. Why? Because his mind is telling, go for it. This is where the bliss is. So this is how we perform actions. Our mind is dictating our senses, which is influenced by our gunas. This is how this whole thing works. Every action that we perform. Okay? So because of that, who dictates our actions? The intellect and mind, right? They are dictating our actions. Your hand, your feet, your speech, everything is controlled by your mind and intellect. It's very well under its control. Then what energizes our mind, intellect, senses, and karma indriyas? The soul, Jivatma, is energizing it. If it was not energizing it, it will not have the capacity to take decision. So your soul is energizing it. And what energizes our soul? Super soul, Paramatma, God himself. So this is basically where the free will is exerted and then directed by our gunas, inspired by Jivatma, and Jivatma is inspired means energized by God himself. So ultimately, God is the powerhouse through which your soul is energized. Soul is the powerhouse which energizes our body. Our body includes our mind, senses, and everything. And that is how we are enabled to take any action. Let's understand. If God withdraws his energy, now we cannot do anything. We are dead basically. Our very existence is sustained by God. That is why he's closer than the closest to us. Nobody is more closer to our soul than God himself, which unfortunately we have forgotten, right? Which we are trying to revive that relationship. Bhakti, when we say bhakti, bhakti is basically re-establishing or awakening our real self and waking up to the fact that our relationship is with God. That is essentially what bhakti or devotion is. So God is actually, now choices are dictated by predominant guna at any point. We have spoken about it. So let's understand it. So here's a thief. The thief can have any kind of guna at a given point in time. But he may say that, what am I doing? I should put it back. He may get into a sattvic mode while after doing that, after stealing something. And then he may have that thing, I would not like somebody else to steal my hard-earned money, so why should I steal? Thief may have that thought. He has that choice. Or he may have that thought, what, let me become a Robin Hood. 50% I'll keep for myself, 50% I'll give it to charity. A lot of dons are like that, right? That's how they generate goodwill amongst the people. Then, or he may say, okay, I've got a bountiful, about time I plan another big robbery. So all three thoughts could be there in that robber's mind. However, at any point in time, he can ride it through his free will. He can override it through his free will. Free will is a symptom of our soul. Okay. I hope that philosophy is not getting too deep for you. Free will is a symptom of the soul. So what happens is, I may have a tendency, let's say I have been very bitter in my past lives. Okay. See, or I've harbored a lot of resentment in my past life, or let's say I have a stealing mindset, I'm a kleptomaniac. Those are dictated by my gunas based on my sanskars that my mind is telling us. But through proper knowledge, you can override that. So your mind might be telling you to do something, but then through proper knowledge, you'll say, what, I'll resist myself from doing it because it's not good for me. Or the scriptures say this, it's not good for my spiritual journey. So you have a tendency, you have an ability to override your predominant guna at every moment in life. If that was not so, there are a lot of people, even in Sanatana Dharma, they will debate you to death, saying there is no concept of free will. We are programmed. Basically, everything is dictated by gunas. Yes, if that was the case, then God will say, Arjun, you don't need to listen to Bhagavad Gita. You will be dictated by your guna. You are programmed and thank you very much. That's not the case. God has gone on to the extent of giving the entire Bhagavad Gita so that we can override and transcend our gunas through our free will. Okay. But now the free will, Jivatma is taking its decisions through the free will, whatever knowledge is activated in their intellect. So then at that point, who's the doer? It's energized by God. So ultimate doer is God, right? Because you're energizing the soul. Now let's say through your free will, you have done a good deed, or you could do a bad deed. Both possibilities are there. Now what Bhagavad Gita is saying, the scriptures are saying, only when you are fully surrendered to God, Sharanagat to God, when you have perfected your surrender. Now surrender is a concept in itself. Maybe we can discuss that as well. When you perfected your surrender, then God becomes the inspirer and takes control. It's not Jivatma at that point. That means he's taken control of your soul's free will as well. That free will is perfectly aligned with God's will at that moment. It's like the Sarthi of Arjun. Arjun has given complete control to Krishna. He's not directing his chariot anywhere and telling Krishna, you decide what is best for me. You take me wherever you want. me to the battlefield. Only when you are fully Sharanagat, that's when you become a perfect instrument of God. And at that moment, only saints can claim, like Tulsidas ji had said, Na main kari na kari sakun, sahib karta mor, karat karavat aap hain, tulsi tulsi shor. He can say that because he's perfectly surrendered to God. We cannot claim that by committing murders and doing bad things and saying end of the God is the doer. Okay, so the right attitude in this case is when you do something bad, you take responsibility for it, because that means you have exercised your free will. And something good happens, a devotee attributes it to God. Thank you, God, for choosing me as an instrument or inspiring me, because if I could do something, it was only because of your power and your inspiration. Given to my own intellect, I would have probably not been able to do that. That is the right attitude. So yes, you are a doer for all the things which are not good, basically, when you are not perfectly surrendered. And you are not the doer ultimately because God is energizing. So that is the part you have to reconcile this paradoxical concept very clearly. So anything good gets done through you. Let's say somebody gets help, somebody praises you, you are able to be an instrument to do something good, from time to time in life, then you attribute it to God. Don't take it an ego ride. And something bad happens, take accountability. It's because of my imperfection. It's because of the fact that I'm not fully surrendered. I made this mistake. So that is the right attitude to have. So this is the real meaning of Bhagwan ki marzi ke bina patta bhi nahi hilta. That means that without God's energy, nothing is possible. But God is not going to control you. That I'm giving you energy, so you only do good things. Don't do crime. Okay. And if you do robbery, then I will cut my energy. No, he said you do, but there will be consequences. Be prepared to reap the consequences around it. And that is what karmic, perfect law of karma is. Only when we are surrendered, then we become an instrument of God. But God may choose you to, basically, in case God has to help somebody, he may choose you as an instrument from time to time. And that is why it's important to attribute it back to God and not have an ego ride at that moment. Yes, Sandhya, you had a question?
Yeah, one point that like we've heard multiple times, like from you as well, that when the rain falls, it does not discriminate across seeds, but what plant will come out of it will depend upon the nature and maybe in our case free will. But without the rain, no plant will come. So
beautiful. Yes. So God energy is like rain, and that's another analogy. Thank you for bringing that up. Rain is agnostic to all the places. It's not going to say I'm not going to fall on it. Now, the same rain will have different effects on based on the different receivers. If it falls on a plant, flower, then the flower will mushroom or it will come out, blossom. If it falls on a cactus, thorns will come out. If it falls on mud, it will become, muddy water. And if it falls on an oyster, then, it can become a pearl. So rain was agnostic to the receiver. It's the receiver or the vessel which actually did the transformative effect of the same rain that it received. So that is the same analogy as God is agnostic. He's going to give you energy. He said, I'll give you energy. You reap the consequences of it. Now, either you do neutral karma with it, which is karam yoga, or you do good karma with it. I'll reward you. I'll give you prize in terms of celestial abodes. Or you do bad karma, you will go to hellish abodes. Okay, and akarma is the highest one. That akarma will bring you closer to me. Karma will let you enjoy this material world more temporarily. And vikarma will take you to nether regions to suffer more. All three choices are available to you. Akarma is the way to go if you're reading Bhagavad Gita. That is Karma Yoga. That is what we're discussing. So,
I had a question as well.
Sorry?
So when a soul is not surrendered, soul is the prayojak karta and God is the prayojya karta. But when a soul is surrendered, then both the roles are played by God.
So if you look at this one, there are two kinds of doers. Prayojak karta, one he who provides the energy. That is God is called Prayojak karta. He is the facilitator. And the second is called Prayojya karta, the one who utilizes the energy. So we are the Prayojya karta till the point we are not surrendered. When we are surrendered, God becomes both Prayojak karta and Prayojya karta. Okay, so this is basically the concept that I spoke about, the window movement and the mirror movement, which Rahul can explain better than me, which basically means that when do you look at the window and when do you look at the mirror? See, we look at the mirror far too frequently, right? We look at the mirror. In fact, there was a psychological experiment conducted that people, when they were to go in elevators, they would feel, oh my God, this elevator is so slow from first floor to 20th floor than when it has to go. And they would always be like, this is not done. It takes a lot of complaints were there. And then smartly what they did, they put a mirror. Now people are looking at themselves in the mirror. So time flies by, right? So when we look at the mirror means we are looking at ourselves. And when the success comes or something good gets done through us, then we look at the mirror. And when something bad happens, right? The favorite pastime of most of the people is to blame. Blame is very easy, right? It's because of you. It's because of you that I'm behaving bad. It's because of you my life is in a mess. It's because of you I'm worrying. It's because of you I'm angry. No accountability, right? Just wash your hands off from your own messed up thought process and holding on to your unworthiness and blame it on somebody. Then we look out the window. Who is the softest target that I can do something about? So spirituality says flip that model. When something bad gets done, then look at the mirror. It's because of you. Take responsibility for it. Nobody else is causing any harm to you. You yourselves are responsible for all the harm that your mind is doing to you. That is the mirror moment. And when something good happens, look outside. It's only because of so many people who have supported me, or without their cooperation or without, I wouldn't have been possible. That is the right way of approaching it. Same thing, the servitude attitude, even in leadership in corporates, they tell you these days this concept is picking up, leadership through servitude. So when you serve others, when you look at the big picture of helping out others, you automatically get that. So this concept is picking up big time. So it's an important concept to imbibe in your life as well. Whenever something good happens, look out for people, genuinely look out for people, because you cannot succeed without others' help, no matter which walk of life you are in. And when something bad can, take responsibility for your actions. Don't blame anybody else. That's a great attitude to have if we are want to progress spiritually. But if you don't want to progress spiritually, then we can continue with the same thing, right? Take credit for everything that you can and then give blame to anybody, that whoever you find in your life. That's not the right attitude, actually. That's what our spirituality is telling us. But the key thing is to not have that sense of doership. Understand the big picture. It's God who's enabling you. He's the very basis of your life. So don't take an ego ride whenever something good gets done, and there will be a mix of good and bad that will happen in your life, right? So first of all, offer the fruits to God and then give him the credit and have an attitude of gratitude towards God for anything good that gets done through you. That way we'll progress faster and get closer to that perfect bliss, peace, joy, happiness that we are looking for. Yes, Madhuji, you had a question too?
Radhe, Radhe. What, in a nutshell, what I understand, I want to share with you, because the I should know that I understand it good or bad. Here is what I understood. Prayojak. The God is only providing us energy to think our intellect and mind, but whatever we are doing, it is our own intellect.
True. Very true.
Second is, suppose prayojak karta is he who provides the power and energy. God is prayojak karta. He is the facilitator. Suppose someone wants to rob a house, so he will find God will facilitate open the road. Entry will be the easy. But prayojak karta is the one who utilizes this energy.
God is, I think you are got it right, except for the part that God is not the facilitator. He's simply providing you the energy to do action. Now, it's not like you have decided to do robbery. God will say, okay, let me lay a red carpet for you.
Like this, it is our intellect and mind. The God is providing the energy to our intellect and mind to think over it. Whatever we are doing, what we are doing, first we should think over it, that we are doing the good or bad. It is our own intellect. But if we will surrender the God, God will inspire us of good things.
True.
And
Very
am
true.
I right?
Very true. When you have surrendered, that means now you have become a mere instrument of God. Now you have aligned your will to God's will perfectly. That's essentially what it means. Perfectly well. So yes, God will give you energy regardless, but there will be consequences. Right? And that consequence is the law of karma. But when you do a karma or karma yoga, that's when you get closer to the principle of surrender and you are doing non-binding karma. Karma with no reaction whatsoever. So that is the gist of this entire discussion. Very well understood. Yes. So,
Quick question in the chat from the chat window. So to understand when we are not surrendered, are we the doer in the sense that we use our free will to take actions with the energy given by God?
Yeah, that is true in that sense. But we are in that case, that is why the law of karma is applicable to us, right? It's not to God. I told you initially, right? If God was the doer, then God should take the law of karma. We are actually the doer. But the right spirit is, even though we are the doers, we understand the big part of it. It's only because of God's energies we are enabled. So whenever good actions get done through us, we attribute it back to God. And when bad actions get done, we take accountability for it. This is the right attitude to progress spiritually. Okay. So our intellect is not perfectly aligned as yet, and that is why we are continue to make mistakes and do binding karmas. Otherwise, if God was doing everything, then everything would be perfect in this world, right? God is, why should we take the blame? I've told you, right? If Gappu is doing the mistake, then why should Pappu cop the blame for that? So it's very simple. We are doing it, that's why it's our karma, and our intellect is not perfectly aligned as yet. The day it is aligned with God's intellect and the job is done right. There's a beautiful saying I had come across in one of the books I think I was reading long back, in which God says that your will is my will, but that does not mean my will was yours. That means whatever you will desire, I'll support you. I mean, I'll give you the energy anyways. But that doesn't mean you are utilizing that energy in the manner I wished you should have. He's anyway going to give you energy. There is a price for that energy. Okay, that power supply, the electric company charges you, right? Similarly, God charges you very heavily for the energy that he gives you, unless you put it to good use. We don't realize that, but we are paying that price every moment in form of our sanskar and so many other things. So the quality of actions that we do, that responsibility lies on us only. He said, I've made you human. I've given you intellect. Now you go find out the deeper meaning of life, the divine principles, and start aligning to those. And when you start making it a priority, I'll facilitate that process for you. I'll make you meet your spiritual guru. I'll give you access to the right knowledge. I'll give you the inspiration. You take one step, I'll keep taking 10 steps to facilitate that process for you. But you have to make that choice and desire on a repeated basis until it becomes your second nature. Okay, any other questions? It's a very important concept. So Bhagwan ki marzi ke bina patta bhi nahi milta. Don't use it as an excuse to say everything is happening as per God's wish only. So even if something bad is happening, I will do Ishwar Tushti. Oh, it was God's wish only. No, that's not the case. And if you want to go to any temple or place, don't say put it on God. When God will desire, I will go. You take responsibility. So that makes us fatalists also, right? This saying, if not properly understood, then we attribute everything to God. When Mata Rani will call me, then I will go. I mean, you make a priority. Mata Rani in due course of time will call you anyways. So there are so many things we put on God, which is called Ishwar Tushti, that we need to refrain from. There are 3 tushtis, 4 in fact, that we need to be very careful about on the path of spirituality. The first one is called Kal Tushti, where we put it on time. When my time will come, it will happen. How absolutely no accountability, right? When my time will come. I mean, it's pretty open-ended statement. Second is Bhagya Tushti. If it's in my fate, it will happen. Okay, and if it's in my Bhagya, this is again, it's a very wrong way of thinking. The third is called Ishwar Tushti, where we put it on God. Oh my, when God will desire, it will happen. How can we put it on God? And the fourth is called Sharanavaran Tushti, where we are saying, we keep on saying, I am Sharanagat, I am Sharanagat. Everywhere you are saying that, but in your actions and your words, And your day-to-day dealings, you are not surrendered because you don't understand the principle of surrender really well, or it could be hypocritical as well. So these 4 twishtis we need to stay away from. Yes, a couple of other hands. By the way, we continue this till 10 o'clock and maybe another 5 minutes if there's a discussion going on, and then we move to the third segment, dessert. Okay, it's called dessert, not desert. There's desert, there is desert, and there is dessert. It's a dessert, okay? My pronunciation is not good, so please put up with it whenever I get it wrong. So let me know whenever I get it wrong. Yes, Prabhatji, please go ahead. It was by the way, told to me, I said, I'm going to correct it consciously from here on. Dessert, SS double it. Okay. Yes, Prabhatji, go ahead, please.
Easy. So basically, like as you mentioned, like so we can also take one analogy, like father gives us a pocket money and we have to utilize it. So similarly, if we are going to feed someone from that money or doing some good thing, so ultimately the money is coming from God only. So that's why the main doer is He only, and we are just an instrument. We are using it, and as per our free will.
Very true, very true. Everything belongs to God only, right? See, there is absolutely nothing we can offer to God other than our free will. What is it that we have that doesn't belong to God? Everything, right? He is the past creator. The entire world, including our body, belongs to him. But there is one thing, he has consciously given us a choice, and that choice is free will. He doesn't have that. Okay, he said, right, that Mohan tere charnon ki, that in bhajan it says, siva dil ke tukdon ke main kuch chadhane ke kabil nahi hu. There's nothing we can offer to God other than our own free will. That's all. And that is the only thing he doesn't have. But for a reason, he has given that free will to us, because when you have free will, when you have a choice, then only you can love. When you don't have a choice, then what you can just program somebody. If your kid comes to you and you can give your kid a pill, after eating that pill, that kid will come and say, I love you, I love you. Will you feel satisfied? You will not. You have programmed it. There was no choice. Same thing God does. He's created a very interesting game. You make a choice and you keep on making that choice, and then I'm all yours. Thank you, Prabhat. Yes, Madhuji, and then Vikas will come to you.
Yeah.
Be the out of this question may be the out of subject, but I want to ask that the 3 gunas, sattva gun, rajo gun, tamo gun, these 3 gunas, prakritik gunas, are a person, a child born with these 3 gunas. It is our past karmas or depend on the environment in which the child is suppose the mother is not a good mother, is not doing any good karmas, and mother is not so the child will born with that mother's gunas, or that our past karmas give us a sattva gun, rajo gun, tamo gun, prakriti in
both. I understood your question. I'll quickly answer that. Both.
Okay.
The predominant guna, the gunas that you are born with, is your own doing from your past karma. Having said that, God has a perfect algorithm to place you in a particular mother's womb based on your past karmas as well. And the impressions of those, the environment, the kind of environment you get, the kind of situation, circumstances, they definitely have a bearing on our gunas when we keep on growing old, right? When after, I think, 12 or something, the first initial years, the kid is dictated by their own sanskars from the past lifetime. And of course, they continue, and then the impressions of the current life start falling on them as well. So your current upbringing, situation, circumstance definitely has a bearing on your gunas. Having said that, it's part of it is dictated by your prarabdha, that you have done your past choices. Part of it is through your kriyaman, situation, circumstances. Both have a play in it. What is the ratio? I don't know. The only thing that is in our hand is our free will. When we understand things well, we start exercising it in a manner so that we get a good head start in our next life whenever we come, without worrying about whether it's because of my situation, circumstance, or my past karma. Whatever it is what it is now, right? We can only make it better from here on. So that is how it goes. But even the family that we are born in is also dictated by our past karmas. Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, I think chapter 7, he has said that if you have not completed your journey, I will make sure you are born in a family or in a mother's womb where you can carry on your spiritual journey pretty early on in life. So some people are born in a family, you see, so many with past sanskars, they are able to carry on their spirituality early on in life. They get such situations, circumstances. So everything is happening as per a grand design or the perfect algorithm that God has. But because of our free will, we may have a good environment and yet make bad choices, or we may have a bad environment and yet make a good life out of it. That is determined by our free will and the knowledge that we feed to our intellect and how we put it to practice. That free will aspect cannot be undermined. Great. Let's hear from Vikas and then we'll go to 2 more questions before we move to our devotional segment for the day and the announcements. By the way, announcements, let's make quick announcements. I wanted to tell you that the retreat is coming up. Online is available now. Please register for it if you haven't. I would encourage all of you to register. Retreat is like a spiritual, concentrated spiritual injection. Okay, so if you feel inspired, I mean, if those 2 or 3 days are pure devotional bliss, or good knowledge that you can get. Bhagavad Gita is the subject, plus you can immerse yourself in bhajans. So it's a very good way to spend that weekend. So please do register for it. If you need any information, I think our co-hosts will provide you with that. Please fill out the feedback tracker if you have any questions on Karam Yoga, that I'll be more than happy to bring it to the session and discuss. And we are going to celebrate Janmashtami as well. So just wanted to let you know. If there are any other announcements, we'll let them do. But Vikash, go ahead with your question.
So you talk about action, but how to deal with indecision and procrastination is connected with the indecision, and we are not responsible for the procrastination. I read somewhere else. So how to deal with both these phenomena?
You only
And are this connected with action, indecision, and the procrastination?
Procrastination is called inaction, right? So you only are responsible for procrastination. Nobody else is. You are making a choice to delay it because you don't understand that by wishing away things, nothing happens. Or Bhagavad Gita says very clearly, inaction basically is as good as a sin. So if you keep on pushing out things, procrastinating, not doing the required action, it will lead you to laziness. It will lead you to more indecision, right? So it's your thing. With proper knowledge, arm yourself with right knowledge so that these things you can keep on becoming better at it. So this spirituality is a wrestling match between your lower value, lower nature and your higher nature. So procrastination, fear, indecision, worry, they are all lower energies. So we don't feed them. We overpower them with our higher nature by arming ourselves with the right knowledge and then making decisions with conviction. And we need to get better in it with time. That is one of the tests you can put yourself to say whether you're progressing or not. So indecision should reduce, procrastination should reduce, your confidence should increase, your clarity of thought should increase. All these things should be on the upward trend as you go along. Procrastination is not at all a good thing. In fact, procrastination is one of the biggest reasons why we don't prioritize spirituality in our life. Everybody thinks that it's a plan for retirement, or I'll do it, or I'll have time. That is procrastination. And we continue to do that lifetime after lifetime. So when Krishna says, Chaturvidha bhajante mam, Sokrito Arjuna, there are 4 kind of people who worship me. There are Jigyasu, Jnani, Arto, Arthi, Jnani, Jigyasu, and Jnani basically. People who are suffering from misery, they approach God. People who are seeking world, they approach me. People who are in in knowledge, they also seek me. So the people who are in knowledge and the people who are curious, they also seek me. So if you are curious and you are seeking God, then procrastination is the only reason why you are holding it back, right? You know what is the right thing to do and yet you don't do it. That is because procrastination is telling you, I have time. Let me do this thing first, or this is more important for me right now. So procrastination is one of the biggest pitfalls on the path of spirituality. And life after lifetime, we continue to do that because we think we have a lot of time left in our life. So that is something we need to mindfully work on. Okay, let's quickly take a couple of more hands. And then we move to our devotional segment. You're welcome to stay back. Yes, Falguni ji.
Radhe Radhe. Radhe Radhe. Nitinji, my question is that we say that okay, time, fate, destiny, they are the four tushtis, but so many times we have been conditioned to think that okay, this is your destiny, this is your fate, and that kind of a thing. And our upbringing is as such. So suppose if I am going against it, like okay, I don't want to accept it, so then does it mean that I am using the energy of using the prayoja karta? I'm using the energy to change myself. Will I be is it called a rebel kind of a thing? I mean, I'm getting a little confused between these two.
Why would you be a rebel? Your
fate. No, not a rebel. The thing is that suppose if I'm going against it and then using the energy, like if I say that okay, I'm not the doer, but God is giving me the energy to change, so then will it become like a kind of a positive kind of a thing if I'm making a effort to? I mean, I'm a little confused about this whole thing, because we've been taught okay, this is your fate, this is your this, and if you change, then they say okay, don't try to so that confusion is.
No, first of all, this whole concept of somebody telling you this is your fate and do that is itself is not correct. How can somebody know this is your fate?
Yeah, but that's a conditioning sometimes,
And what do you think will please God more? If he gives you energy, let's say your employer or somebody has given you a gift and you put it to good use to the best of your ability, will that please God more, or will it please him more if you simply sit down and say, okay, whatever it is, okay, I don't care?
Oh, okay.
Think logically. God will be pleased when we exert ourselves, when we push ourselves, when we try to transcend our gunas. He's extremely pleased. In fact, you are serving the purpose of this creation when you do that, because this creation universe is created to uplift us. And when we start working on ourselves, utilizing whatever is given to us by God to uplift ourselves, to improve ourselves, it's very pleasing to God and Guru. Very, very pleasing. Because now you are working on yourself and getting closer to God. End of the day, we have to become God-like, right? So you are making God's job easier when you utilize that energy in a manner that is helping you become better. So there's absolutely no concept of being a rebel there, right? You are just utilizing the energy and you are aligning, you are getting closer to aligning your will to God. Just imagine if that God was at your place, what he would have instructed you to do. He would have liked you to do your best in that situation, right? Rather than saying, okay, having a defeatist mindset, it's written my fate. Let it be. No, he wants you to persevere and then exert yourself and try your best in situations that you are in. And he celebrates those little victories. You may find it difficult, but when you come out of it, it's extremely pleasing to God. Those little victories. He gives you tests and he feels very good when you pass those tests, like that teacher. Not that make your life easy and you're having a cakewalk and drinking tea and just lying down. That'll not make God and Guru happy. What's the point? You are still where your soul was, or might have downgraded yourself. But when you utilize it, it's very pleasing to God. You don't accept what people tell you just like that. It's in your fate. These are all stereotypes and cliches we need to be mindful of. Hey, Sakshata ji. Hopefully that helped. Falguni ji, I answered.
I have a question, but actually, because it's different places in particular.
Akshita ji, there is a lot
of background noise.
So could you
Sakshata,
please?
we're not able to hear you.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Slightly better.
Yeah. Can I go ahead or can I post it in
Go ahead quickly.
Actually, in the families, they will be born in the very good family with a good background, everything. But still, they can't continue with the whatever the pujas, everything what they do. They will be deadly opposite for the family and the parents. Why these things will happen?
These things can happen within the same family. Two twins born in exactly the same family may have different sanskars. right? So it's a function of their past sanskars to those past sanskars, and they might have come to to settle some debts and credits and maybe certain lessons that they need and you need, and so it's a combination of a lot of factors. But that is the only way you can understand. They have their past sanskars. You can have twins born in the same family, having exactly the same upbringing, same environment, and yet having diverse thought processes, diverse sanskars. That can very much happen. It's because of their past sanskars. And those past sanskars, they start manifesting. Typically, they say, from a certain age, it can start, early signs might come in early time, but typically after 10, 12, they're, the impressions of this life, they start taking over, and their past sanskars, they start manifesting more and more. Hey, Sandhya, is it a devotional segment or a question?
Devotional segment.
Okay, so everybody, then I think we had a pretty good discussion. Please put in your question in the feedback tracker if there are more, because by the way, tomorrow we will have our first of our presentations for the Janmashtami Leela from Ananya team. So I'm looking forward to that. We'll start with those presentations tomorrow. And when the teams are ready, we'll take one at a time. So we'll get that started tomorrow. I think we'll do it after a bit of a discussion tomorrow. So with that, we move to our dessert section of today's session. So let's do a few bhajans, and then let's proceed. So Sandesh, you wanted to go first? Please go ahead. I see Manisha ji is going to sing as well. Very nice. It's good to
Maybe
see.
Manisha ji can go first. Amritavani ji, I need co-host privilege to share the screen.
You've
Sure,
already.
you can go in the meantime.
I've already given you, ma. Will you go first, Sandeep? Should I give it to?
Anything is fine. Manisha ji can go first, then I can go.
Manisha is making her debut, so let's give her.
Please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe ji. Radhe Radhe.
Thank you for taking initiative today. Please go ahead.
Thank you for this opportunity. राम से बड़ा राम का नाम, राम से बड़ा राम का नाम, अंत में निकला ये परिणाम, अंत में निकला ये परिणाम, राम से बड़ा राम का नाम, राम से बड़ा राम का नाम, कर सुमिरन रूप बिन देखे, कर सुमिरन रूप बिन देखे, कौड़ी लगे न धाम, कर सुमिरन रूप बिन देखे, कर सुमिरन रूप बिन देखे, कौड़ी लगे न धाम, प्रेम के बांधे खिंचे आएंगे, आखिर एक दिन राम, राम से बड़ा राम का नाम, राम से बड़ा राम का नाम, लांघ सके ना बिना सेतु के, लांघ सके ना बिना सेतु के, जिस सागर को राम, लांघ सके ना बिना सेतु के, लांघ सके ना बिना सेतु के, जिस सागर को राम, कूद गए हनुमान उसी से, लेकर राम का नाम, राम से बड़ा राम का नाम, राम से बड़ा राम का नाम, अंत में निकला ये परिणाम, अंत में निकला ये परिणाम, राम से बड़ा राम का नाम राम से बड़ा राम का नाम। राधे राधे जी।
It was very nice. You made a smashing debut in our devotional segment and a very beautiful, soulful bhajan. Very nice. Thank you so much for that. And hope you can sing more often in the session. And it's such a rare thing. Ram se bada Ram ka naam. It's Swamiji tells in his lecture that Ram Bhagwan, he came for 11,000 years, but even after he closed his pastime, so many people have benefited by saying his name itself. Right? They've changed, transformed their lives, and attained sainthood just by saying Ram, Ram, Ram. Even Mara, Mara, Mara for that matter. Beautiful bhajan. Thank you so much. Loved it. All right. Who's next? Okay, Vikash, you can go next, and then Santya, you can go. Yeah, Vikash, you wanted to sing something?
Yeah, so it is a poem.
Okay, go ahead.
Slowly, let's dive into the world, the secret romantic world of the Radha and the Krishna. The, the yellow garment covering the Krishna, body of the blue, the Radha countenance blushing like the timid silver moon, with the luring notes of the Krishna magical flute. Krishna, who steals from his sanguine eyes the precious love deep rooted in the heart inside. When he stole a glance at the Radha hazel eyes, desire and the love melted to the one in the two hearts, and the soul intwined together to form a name Radha Krishna. No one here but the white moon above, in whose milky beams and the love baths with the doves. Witness the romantic melody of the tangled nights that dances out of the Krishna flute, graceful and divine, and on the tune of which Radha drops her eyes Mickey. On the leafy grass, Krishna on the Radha laps, in the dark infinite star on the cloud arm. On no eyes have got boon to get such blissful sights. Only jingling of the Radha anklet and the notes from the Krishna flute can fill this spiritual romance of the Radha and the Madhava. Krishna tempting eyes doing the trick, calling the Radha tempted lips to give a kiss, and like a desert nomad thirsty throws in a host. Krishna lips keeps on drinking the winky kiss from the Radha lips, which drown his heart in the flooding river of the kiss. This secret world of the spiritual love and the divine romance, the secret of whose nectar soothes the moon and the stars. What wondrous beauty is hidden in its booms, where the Radha, Madhava, and the Madhava, in the different conjoining posture, come together to fulfill every lustful desire.
So Vikas,
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we have a condition, okay, from here on, that it has to be sung. Okay, this is devotional segment, so it has to be sung. So you need to prepare bhajans. It's incentive for you to think about, preparing bhajans or sing it out, not just the rendition. Okay, so when we do the poem renditions, then probably, but you have to sing a bhajan because it's a bhajan segment. So we want to immerse in devotional segment as opposed to doing a pure reading about it, because that ras aspect is devoid, right? If you don't want. So prepare bhajans. I think that will be better suited for this segment as opposed to a pure narration like you did. But thank you nevertheless. Let's move on to the next one. Sandhya, go ahead, please. And I'm going to recite a couple of lines as well.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
कृपा करो बरसाने वारी, तेरी कृपा का भरोसा भारी। कृपा करो बरसाने वारी, तेरी कृपा का भरोसा भारी। तेरा मन है कृपा का प्यारी, तेरा तन है कृपा का प्यारी। तेरी कृपा तो कृपा है प्यारी, तेरा कोप भी कृपा है प्यारी। तेरी कृपा चाह बनवारी, तेरी कृपा की है बलिहारी। कृपा पर कृपा करे प्यारी, ऐसी कृपा पर वारी वारी। जापे टुक कृपा करे प्यारी, वाके पाछे डोले बनवारी। सुनी कृपा का विरद प्यारी, तेरे द्वार पड़ी भीड़ भारी। को हो या ना हो अधिकारी, सब पर कृपा करे प्यारी। तेरी कृपा पाके पिय प्यारी, बनी गए हैं कृपालु प्यारी। कृपा करो बरसाने वारी, तेरी कृपा का भरोसा भारी। हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल, हरि बोल हरि बोल, हरि बोल हरि बोल, हरि बोल, हरि बोल हरि बोल. That's it, done.
Very nice. Thank you, Sandhya. It's a beautiful bhajan on Radharani and very nicely, devotionally, soulfully sung. Loved it. All right, we have two more hands. So go ahead, Swati ji, and then Payal ji. Thank you for coming. So I think we have Swati ji, please go ahead.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe. Okay, you want video also? I'll just start. Okay. Jai Radhe, Jai Radhe, Radhe. Jai Radhe, Jai Shri Radhe. नहीं भूलूं तोहे पल हुआ ते, असनुकंपा कर राधे। जय राधे जय राधे राधे, जय राधे जय श्री राधे। कुंज कुंज बिच कुंज बिहारी, विहरत नित प्रति श्री राधे। कुंज कुंज बिच कुंज बिहारी, सॉरी, विहरत नित प्रति श्री राधे। जय राधे जय राधे राधे, जय राधे जय श्री राधे। पूरब राधे पश्चिम राधे, उत्तर राधे दक्षिण राधे। ऊपर राधे नीचे राधे, जित देखो तित श्री राधे। जय राधे जय राधे राधे, जय राधे जय श्री राधे। गहवर वन महलन पतन मह, ब्रज कण कण मह श्री राधे। जय राधे जय राधे राधे, जय राधे जय श्री राधे। राधा रानी की जय। Thank you, Radhe Radhe.
Very nicely. Thank you so much. It's a beautiful bhajan and sweet bhajan like you always do. Thank you so much, Swati ji. All right, we have Payal ji and Monica ji. Go ahead. Payal ji, go ahead. First come first. Please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe.
Yeah, bhajan today?
Yes, today for a change, Ram Bhajan again.
All right, go ahead, please.
प्रेम मुदित मन से कहो राम राम राम, राम राम राम, श्री राम राम राम। प्रेम मुदित मन से कहो राम राम राम, राम राम राम, श्री राम राम राम। पाप कटे दुख मिटे लेत राम नाम, भव समुद्र सुखद नाव एक राम नाम, भव समुद्र सुखद नाव एक राम नाम। प्रेम मुदित मन से कहो राम राम राम, राम राम राम, श्री राम राम राम। परम शांति सुख निदान नित्य राम नाम, निराधार को आधार एक राम नाम, निराधार को आधार एक राम नाम। प्रेम मुदित मन से कहो राम राम राम, राम राम राम, श्री राम राम राम। महादेव सतत जपत दिव्य राम नाम, राम 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 राम। मात पिता बंधु सखा सब ही राम नाम, भक्त जनन जीवन धन एक राम नाम। प्रेम मुदित मन से कहो राम राम राम, राम राम राम, श्री राम राम राम, राम राम राम, श्री राम राम राम। थैंक यू सो मच। राधे राधे। जय श्री राम।
You were singing Ram Bhajan today. Full justice. Loved it. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the opportunity, Nitin ji. Always. Thank you. Grateful.
Privilege is all ours. Okay. Amrutamani ji, you have to sing one day as well. Okay. Please get prepped
Sure,
up.
sure. Definitely. I'm a bit emotional actually. I don't know. Today I was thinking about Lord Ram. When I go to India, I need to go to Bhadrachalam, like the one in South India where Ram temple is. And today I hear all of them singing. I was a bit little emotional. Thank you.
That's the whole idea. Very nice. Thank you. All right. We have sister duo. Please go ahead. Monica ji and Laddu. Go ahead, please. And I
Radhe Radhe.
raised my
Radhe
hand after that. Okay. So that, yes, go ahead, please.
Radhe Radhe Bhaiya, Radhe Radhe everybody. Bhaiya, I'm fasting today because today is I think last Shravan's Somvar, so I'm fasting today.
Oh my God, you're going to get a very nice husband, I'm sure. You have a very nice husband.
He's married.
Go ahead, Laddu. Go ahead, go ahead.
भोले बाबा तेरी ही क्या ही बात है, भोले शंकरा तेरी क्या ही बात है, दूर हो के भी तू साथ है, ओ दूर हो के भी तू साथ है। खुद को मैं कर दूंगा तुझको समर्पण, मैं तेरा अंश हूँ तू मेरा दर्पण, तेरे ही होने से मेरी ये सारी जिंदगी सजी है। लागी मेरी तेरे संग लागी रे मेरे शंकरा, लागी मेरी प्रीत तेरे संग मेरे शंकरा। तू पिता है मेरा और तू ही रहेगा, मेरी हर गलती को तू हंस कर सहेगा। तेरे जाप से मन का उड़ गया रे मोडू, सब तेरी बदौलत है आज ये लड्डू। तू सक्षम है। I'm so sorry भैया।
No, no, go ahead, go ahead. That's okay. Finish it off.
भैया I'm so sorry।
No, go ahead. Finish it off.
भैया Monica दी is folded from me. I am not laughing too fast ना। तू सक्षम है और विशाल है, तू उत्तर है और संभाले। सॉरी भैया, सॉरी। फिनिश करो। तू ही सत्य बाकी जिंदगी बिना सगी है, लगी मेरी प्रीत तंग तेरे संग मेरे I'm so sorry भैया.
No worries. You think you can finish it? No, huh? So either you cry or you laugh, oh, never finish. All right. Okay. Last.
भैया, can I just sing last line? That's it.
Yes, sure.
लगी मेरी प्रीत संग
तेरे शंकरा, लगी मेरी प्रीत तेरे संग मेरे शंकरा, लगी मेरी प्रीत तेरे संग मेरे शंकरा, लगी मेरी प्रीत तेरे संग मेरे शंकरा. राधे राधे.
भैया.
Good. I think you finished it off, so which is more important. So very nice. And I'm looking forward to your act now during Janmashtami. So thank you, Laddu. Outstanding performance, like you always do. And thank you, Monica ji, for helping her finish it off. So you get a big thumbs up and a heart from our side. Now I'm going to recite a few lines. Is there any more hand, or it's just my hand remaining? Okay.
It's only your hand. You can go ahead.
Okay. I'm going to recite a few lines only. Again, it's Radha Rani's bhajan, so one of my favorite. वृषभानुलली गुण गाये, वृषभानुलली गुण गाये, वृषभानुलली गुण गाये, वृषभानुलली गुण गाये. उनके करण कमल कहाँ ध्यावत, उनके ही चरण कमल कहाँ ध्यावत. आठों याम गमाइए, वृषभानुलली गुण गाइए, वृषभानुलली गुण गाइए, वृषभानुलली गुण गाइए. उनके नित्य धाम बरसाने, उनके नित्य धाम बरसाने, पुनि पुनि आइए जाइए, वृषभानुलली गुण गाइए. राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे, राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे, राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे, राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे. वृषभानुलली गुण गाइए, वृषभानुलली गुण गाइए. Okay, 10:33. So thank you everybody again for your enthusiastic participation and persevering it through till the very end. So tomorrow we have the presentation coming up, and of course our continuance on the discussion that we are doing on the topic of Karam Yoga. We are yet to cover 2 aspects. We'll try to wrap it up in tomorrow or maybe another session. But thanks again. Have a wonderful day and great rest of your evening. And don't forget to turn up and prepare for the quiz as well, which is coming very fast, okay, in a couple of days' time. Thank you. Radhe Radhe. Good day. Good night from my side.
Thank you, everyone. Radhe Radhe. See you all tomorrow.
Radhe Radhe.